This week, we're continuing Master of Crows by Grace Draven, otherwise known as More Bang for Your Buck.
Hi readers, I'm Jordan.
And I'm Katie.
And welcome to Not Another Heroine, the podcast where we break down the best and worst fictional heroines, those swashbuckling ladies who have to work a little harder than expected for their happy ending.
Want to see what's next on our TBR list? Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Instagram for a sneak peek at upcoming content or to help us pick our next book.
Welcome to part 2, Master of Crows.
Part 2, the climax.
In so many ways.
We just went straight into that.
Maybe we should explain the fact that we are recording all 3 parts of Master of Crows at once.
Yeah, so we're still drunk.
And getting drunker as the episodes progress.
Yeah.
So this is fun for you and I.
Yeah, even though you're probably like sober on your way to work or something, and you're like, oh, a week ago we're drunk and now we're drunk again.
I would love to have like a book club reunion of all of our readers together. We could all meet at a bar, talk about our favorite books.
Yeah. Have you there's a thing. So it's on Instagram. You go to, it's like a special bar, and everywhere it's like a silent disco. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of that.
Oh, but you wear headphones, listen to music, and everyone's just reading their own books. And then you can like order drinks at the bar if you want. And you can take your headphones off and like talk to people, but it's just like a silent disco, but for reading.
What?
Yeah. If we ever have like a real life event, that will be the first.
That sounds amazing.
I know.
Are you all reading the same book? Or
no, everybody's just like doing whatever.
They all agree to go read at the same place and like possibly interact with people?
Yep. It's like the option is there if you're feeling courageous.
See, I like to be out and about, but I don't necessarily like interacting until I feel comfortable.
Yep. That's why it's, If we ever have an event, it will have to be a silent book disco.
I love that.
There we go.
Yeah. So that's our plan for, the 5 to 10 years in the future if this podcast is still alive.
I think that's a good time to say thank you to all of our listeners, though, because we just hit the 1,000 downloads.
That's mind-boggling. We're so happy dance for us.
Woo, 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 woo. Yeah. So thank you to anyone who has ever downloaded, listened to our crazy mumblings about books that we love. I love you.
We love you. Thank you. And hopefully here's to more. Like I just want to put out, if you have a book that you want us to talk about, please just give it to us.
Yes.
We're not just making it up when we say we want to hear from you.
No, I 100% want to hear every thought.
Even if it sucks. If we hate your book, we'll still talk about it.
Yes, we will.
But I just love having a conversation about these books. Having that back and forth, even if you disagree with someone, it's a shared experience, which I think is somewhat missing, I think. There's so much remote interaction that having those shared experiences becomes way more valuable.
Yeah. And sometimes you just read a book and you want to like scream about how good it is, but there's like no one to scream at except your partner.
You can scream at us.
Yeah, 100%. I will be screamed at, but not meanly, because I will cry.
And if you make Katie cry, I will make you cry.
That should have been a shot, but that feels like not good.
We probably shouldn't start off that strong for this episode. Okay, Master of Crows.
Yes.
We won't have as long of an intro for this part. We'll just get right into it. So,
action
scene.
Yes. Silhara
has decided that in order to find the missing missile.
To find the missile.
Oh my God.
Everything is fine.
We can make it through. So I don't think we really explained very well in part 1, which is what they're trying to do, which is Silhara is trying to find a way to defeat the god of corruption because he cannot get a good night's sleep.
That's not the only reason, but yes.
Corruption is evil, obviously. But Silhara is he's the avatar on Earth. And he feels like the closer or the more time that goes by, the weaker he becomes and the more open to corruption's influence.
And the stronger corruption gets.
Yeah. So he's trying to find a way to defeat corruption, and he's using Martise to research his library and find ways that corruption has been defeated in the past, or a god similar to corruption has been defeated. And so what he has stumbled upon is there is a abandoned estate, manor, castle in the country somewhere. A keep. I don't know why that went so high.
It felt right.
Yeah. So the keep is populated by this demonic entity.
A lick.
A lick?
A leech.
How do you say it? It might be a leech.
See, I feel bad. Did you ever watch Adventure Time?
No, I've never even heard of it.
That's not lichen.
Like a werewolf?
Plants. Oh. Lich. What the fuck?
Okay.
Not what I would have thought.
So
a lich.
The keep is populated by a demonic lich, which is there a definition for it?
Typey. What should define? Type. ASMR right now. Oh, a dead body, a corpse used chiefly in combination. How to use it?
We don't need that. We don't need that in our Google search history.
I do not need to be a necromancer. A type of undead creature.
Okay, so it's like a zombie, only scarier.
Yeah,
and way more powerful.
It like sucks up your like soul
and keeps it trapped forever, so you can never like retire into eternity. Sorry.
Jordan just oh my god,
that was a little aggressive.
I love the fact that you're like 100% like a Victorian woman, but you also have these moments of like, I will destroy you. It kills me. Everything is fine. Anyway, a lich.
A lich. So it's a zombie-like creature that is in control of the keep. Sohara has been to this keep before and managed to sneak in, steal some shit, and sneak back out.
And Martise is like baffled, but she's like, "You did what?"
Yeah. She's also terrified because Sohara's like, "You're coming with me because you're going to help me." Because I think the impetus. How you say that?
Okay.
Big
nice word.
It's one of those words that you read and you know, but you never use it in spoken English. So she has been translating books in his library, and she says, "Hey, there's some pages missing." And he's like, "Oh, it's probably in the Lich's Keep."
Yes, they're missing.
They're missing in the Lich's Keep. And so he decides that they're going to go there, find the missing pages and any other books that may reveal details about corruption's destruction. And so they set off.
Yes. And it's kind of fun, too, because... Of course, this is fantasy romance. They're on their way there. She falls asleep while they're riding Devil on a horse.
Gag.
And they stop at a creek, and she has another "oh no, he's hot" moment when he like takes his shirt off and like does the whole
muscles.
Like dumps cold water on his body. I mean, like, I would also find it hot, but like, come on.
Do we need her reactions to those?
No. I will say it was like, okay, see what you got going on. Anyways, they make it to the Lich's Keep.
And it's scary as fuck. So have you
dead bodies?
Okay, I pictured the scene in is it the first Lord of the Rings or the Two Towers where they're going through the dwarves' mine.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I imagined.
Yeah. And it's populated by like that. Basically, it's a demon. It's the same kind of setup. And they're hunted and scouted out and chased out. So they kind of make it through to the library. They pick up some pages. And then Sohara's like, we're being hunted.
Because they have like a moment where like in a movie, it would be like when the soundtrack starts of like creepy haunting music and everything goes still. But you can't really do that in books, but the equivalent, like everything's fine and then it's not.
I had forgotten about the scene and then it just popped in my head. And the way Grace Draven describes it is so vivid.
Yeah.
So they realize that the Lich has, you looked it up and I keep forgetting what it sounds like. The Lich has woken up and has hunted them and it's too close to run away. So they tried to run away. Typical dramatic cliche, the cliff crumbles away as they're running. So like Sohara runs away. Martise chases after him, tries to stop, but skids past him and skids off a cliff. He catches her.
Isn't this a scene in The Mummy?
It's definitely a scene in repeated movies somewhere. And of course she's like, "Oh, just drop me. This is a better death than being eaten by the Lich." And he's like, fuck you, you got my books.
He does say that.
Yeah, it's very callous, but it's also like, that's what he would say in the moment to like get them through.
Mm-hmm.
So he grabs hold of her arm. He manages to like pull her up, I think. Mm-hmm. And then the Lich is so close that there's no way for them to escape except...
Yeah, he uses the Dark Arcana. He uses a spell.
Can you say that again? Dark Arcana.
That was my announcer voice. So he uses this spell called Half Dead, and Martise kind of like remarks afterwards that she's like, oh, normally a person uses it and then they're like half dead, but he uses it like 4 or 5 times.
It's basically a teleportation.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I kind of imagined apparating.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So hard on the body, hard on the mind. And he's doing it with he has this very obviously romantic fantasy moment. Mm-hmm. Hold on to me. Don't let go.
Except also we get the like commentary from Martise where she's like being squeezed alive, like squeezed dead.
Well, she feels like her bones are being crushed.
Yeah.
During both him holding on to her and then during the apparition process.
Yeah. So like make it hot, but like not.
Yeah. But he does it like 4 or 5 times, and he like basically ports them through the keep away from the Lich, and they make it to like the courtyard area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then he's basically dead.
Yeah. He's like laying on the ground, and she's like, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck. And then the Lich comes out of the castle, and he's like moving towards her, creepy, like magnifying in size, like something like metaphysical happens.
I couldn't visualize what the Lich looked like.
No.
Because she describes it like arachnid, like spider-like.
Yeah, that caught me off guard because
that's not what I pictured either.
No.
But it's this very ominous, soul-eating presence.
And I think it has like tentacles.
Ew.
I know, I don't like that. But basically it like tries to like suck out her soul, and she's like, not today, and her gift
not
rises.
Today, Isis.
Not today, Isis. That's basically what she says.
Pretty much. Her gift just decides to show up.
Yep.
She apparently wasn't
what
scared.
A time.
It wasn't scared enough with Sahara because he's hot, obviously.
Sorry. That was a lot.
I mean, we'll get to those sounds later in this part.
That we will.
But yeah, her gift is scary.
Yeah, it pops out in kind of like just yeets, murks, destroys, disseminates the Lich. Like
it's like this all-powerful force that has its own conscience.
Yeah,
conscious,
because it's kind of described as something separate from her.
Yeah, like an entity that has been living within her that has its own life form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so murders the Lich instead.
This Lich has terrified
for
people
like centuries.
Yeah, and the Conclave won't go near it. Like, and Martise, little plain servant girl, is like, gift, bitch.
Gift, bitch. I think that's our episode title. Gift, bitch.
Gift, bitch. There we go.
I love it. But yeah, that's what happens. So the Lich is dead.
Oh, like the witch is dead?
Yes.
But Sahara is also almost dead?
Yeah, not doing well.
So this scene was also pretty standard for fantasy romances. Hero's almost dead, heroine loses her mind. Oh my god, don't die on me. And she like rushes towards him, drags him onto the horse, he like wakes up enough, right? To be like, oh, Martise.
Yeah, basically. Because her power is like giving him life again.
Yeah, it's like she channels it into him, and it's enough to save him in that moment.
Yeah, but it's also kind of like, oh, it's like pretty tropey. And then we get his perspective on it, like somewhat during the middle or something. And again, it's one of these like intimate scenes that you're like, I probably shouldn't be watching this, because he's kind of describing like her essence being like surrounding him. I like, think what does that mean? But it's provocative.
I'm picturing a different scene where he's also using her gift.
Oh, I think that happens next, but that's also provocative.
Oh my God. Like I felt
yeah, it's a lot.
Anyway, so I like that she used like a blackout technique on this scene because she gets him on the horse, they go back to Neath.
Yeah.
And done. We're done with the Lich's Keep. Which that could have been a much longer episode.
Though I feel like we should mention, so like during this trip, Silhara has like a scar around his neck that makes his voice kind of like gravelly, which like
thank you, please next. Oh, so yeah, that's a nice contrast between Martise's voice, which is very like soft, and I imagine like soft melodic kind of
nice to listen to.
Yeah, but his voice is always raspy and gravelly and like as if he's both smoking and choking on something.
Yes. But he kind of reveals why that happened. And basically he was like garroted.
Garroted?
I
don't know how to say
like when you get like yeeted from behind around your neck with like
wire.
And it happened when he was a kid, and that's when his magical powers manifested. He like turned into like a column of holy fire or something, etc. But it's kind of sad because he was trying to steal an orange, which is like the great like pulling everything back towards his orange grove. But he like reveals that like halfway through
the ride or on the way. Yeah, I think it's halfway through on the way to the Lich's Keep.
Yeah, so handsome in an interesting way and has an interesting voice. Like, okay,
yeah. Also tragic backstory. Like
everything is fine. Yeah.
After they get back to Neath, this is Silhara kind of being like, oh, now we know what your gift is. Because this was like part 2 of the ongoing mystery with, okay, they're trying to defeat corruption, but also help Martise find her gift if she has it. And it's pretty bad for Martise, actually.
Yeah. Because they kind of have this interaction where it's like a day or 2 later, and they've been like testing in the morning to try to figure out where her powers is, and then she does her errands in the afternoon, etc. Except that morning, now that they know what her power is, she's like, okay, like let me harness it. And they're kind of like embracing or like touching hands or something when she pulls it out, and that sounds weird.
So doesn't he ask her to do like a bond?
Oh, yeah. Is this the seer bond
This
part?
is the seer bond where she's initially very leery of it.
Oh, yeah, it 100% is.
Oh, as you should be. She knows about the seer bond from the conclave, which is, I feel like, opening your brain and soul. So it's when a more powerful mage, like, asks to let your mental and emotional guards down to like see into your gift and take control of it. And so Silhara's like, we need to do that, test your gift. And she's like, fuck no.
Excuse me.
But you're hot, so I'll say yes.
Basically.
And yeah, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
So her gift comes out. He gets attached to it a little too much.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those like intimate moments that you're like, whoa.
So this is both intimate and a little spicy because this is kind of like the first scene where the physical stuff starts happening. And it felt a little gross.
I could see that because it's kind of one of those like not questionable consent, but like, what's really going on here? Like maybe like fated mates energy.
I think I took issue with the amount of description given with how he responds to her, which is like, I don't need to know that.
That is forbidden knowledge.
That's a little bit too much in the male perspective where I'm like, no.
I'm okay.
So we're very much talking around what Silhara does during this seer bond magical thing. But nope, I'm not going to say it out loud. I can't. I haven't had enough alcohol for that. Do you want to try
it? He has a boner and he's like, doing things. I'm sweaty. It's,
this isn't even in the scene yet.
Girl.
All the clothes stay on in this episode.
Yeah. So it's questionable. Everything's fine. And he kind of even like jokes about it though, which I appreciate afterwards because he basically like compares it. He's like, you're more generous with your gift than a prostitute showing a full bag of money. Like,
oh God.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a little it felt a little icky.
Yeah.
And I think it felt icky because of the level of detail provided, not necessarily because of what actually happens.
Yeah. And it probably was maybe like trying to be a little bit icky because like it as a concept is a little bit icky, the whole like seer bond thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I appreciated the fact that Grace Draven didn't make this like more like it kind of was very intimate, very like
because she's so powerless.
Yeah.
It feels gross, but also like using that verbiage feels gross.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's meant to be provocative in a good way or if it's meant to display how gross this thing actually is.
Yeah.
That's what's hard for me to take away from this scene.
Yeah.
Because I read this and I'm like, this is not what I like to read.
I'm not enjoying this.
I don't like this. If it's Grace Draven attempting to show how vulnerable she is as a character in this moment, great. Yeah. I also don't need words like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it doesn't. I was about to say something that sounded super weird, but it's not.
There's no kissing scenes before this at all. This is it.
Yeah.
Like you go from pretty platonic interactions to this.
Yeah.
Which is gross.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's what happens. So that scene
questionable
happens.
But also kind of necessary. We were talking about this a little offline, which is one of our favorite scenes. It's problematic, but
there's a scene that happens before our favorite scene though. The freaky thing comes out of corruption's powers and comes into her room at night and she's like, what the fuck?
Oh.
Yeah, it's the creepy guy that you described with the hands that are too
with
long.
the long, Slender Man.
Slender Man.
Yeah. So this is kind of a cute scene, though, like in the aftermath.
It kind of is, because it's interesting, too, now that we've had that discussion about how it was a little bit, like, grody because she wasn't in control of anything, because this next scene is, probably, like, a couple days later. She's sleeping. She wakes up in the middle of the night. Something's wrong, and a manifestation of corruption's power kind of appears, and he's the guy with the too long of hands, freaky, only a mouth, no eyes.
It's like he sensed her gift like appear, and so he's like, this is an interesting addition to the Neath household.
Yeah, I think he says that. Or something along those lines.
I am the reincarnation of corruption.
She did the like arms out and everything. That was awesome.
That's how you know I've had a little too many shots.
That's fine. And she kind of like destroys him with her power or whatever. But then Silhara like kind of like comes in and he's like, what the fuck? And she's like, what the fuck? And they kind of use her gift, but then she stops her gift. And then he kind of gets like the backwash of her gift. And then he's like, ugh. And then there's no gift happening though. And he kind of like snaps and then they make out aggressively.
That's a great way to put it. Like it's very aggressive.
Yeah.
Like, so their makeout session feels more explicit than some of like full sex scenes I've read in other books.
Yeah, yeah. But it's an interesting delineation because in that first kind of more explicit scene, she doesn't have any kind of like control, like she's under the power of her magic or whatever. But in this scene, she has like stopped her power, and there may be kind of like after effects maybe, but it's mostly they're both in control of their actions. And so I think it's a good contrast to that first scene of like them not, and then this time them being like actual people who are, responsible for their actions and decision making. But yeah, it's also raunchy.
Very. Yeah. And this is kind of like a good glimpse into how raunchy it will get in the future.
Yeah. And we're not even describing it as raunchy as it is.
We can't with a straight face, but
yeah, it's a lot. I feel like I didn't think I was a Victorian woman until
you read the scene.
Yeah, until I had to into a podcast talk about thrusting against skirts.
Welcome to my world, dear lady.
Oh no, Jordan has accents now.
Oh god, no I don't.
Twisted. But now it's both Jordan and I's favorite part because we have, problematic
expectations of reality.
Yeah, love for overly aggressive random moments.
If we get to we're going right into our favorite scene.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of buildup.
Yeah.
So it is harvest time.
Harvest time.
Harvest time.
Fall sweaters.
Oranges.
Ew.
But yes. So Silhara's like, we need to take the oranges to market. We need to get dry goods for the winter, et cetera, et cetera. Load up the cart, Gurn. Let's go shopping.
And I love the fact that she's embarrassed that they like made out, and he's like, whatever. Yeah, but also like, not whatever.
No, he's like constantly in conflict internally over his attraction to her, because he's always like, she's plain, but she has a nice voice. She's plain, but she's got a gift. Like it
makes me kind of like irritated. Like people can be plain, and also you can be attracted to them. That's fine.
Or it's just different types of attractiveness. Like it's not plainness. It's just, they don't look like your standard ideal of beauty.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway,
getting deep here. Hit. There are some times that I am
oh my God.
I'm gonna take the shot first.
I took a shot because it took me way too long to catch on to what you just said.
That's fair.
I will pour the next shots. You've been pouring all of the other ones.
That's fair.
You want to continue?
Yeah. So my thought before I took a shot and immediately died. Sometimes I'm like editing these episodes, and I feel like I've become more self-conscious of the sounds that I've made. Because there are some noises that leave my body that upon re-listening to them, I'm like, this should not be in recorded format for the world to listen to.
I had to step away from the mic while she said that, and I had to come back because I adore the Katie sound effects, and so do most of our coworkers.
But there's Katie sound effects, and then there's also the questionably erotic sounding like sighs that we make. Because there are some noises that I'm like, I like blush as I'm listening to them. But everything is fine.
Now I have a new thing to listen for. So thanks, Katie.
Okay, you also make them. We both this podcast is filled of questionable sighs.
Oh no. Okay, well, there's about to be a few more questionable sighs.
Oh, there is.
So they decide to go shopping. They make a shopping trip to the market, sell their shit, and
you're like, get to the good part.
Get to the good part. Well, I also really loved how Silhara was like, you're wearing hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
Buy yourself some new stuff.
And he does it in his like gruff way.
He's like, here's some fucking money. Go shopping. It's cute.
It's adorable.
Yeah. So she and Gurn are kind of wandering around the market, getting stuff as they need. And she kind of, she runs into an old flame.
Yeah.
This is, speaking of grody.
Yeah.
This dude.
It's also sad.
Yeah.
Because I feel like everyone has kind of had like a similar.
I feel like most people have this kind of, maybe not this experience, but this kind of past to look up on. So previously, I think in her youth, maybe like 18, 19, she basically had a hookup with the stable boy.
Yeah.
And stable boy, I pictured the blonde hero from Shrek. What's his name?
Oh, yeah. Prince Charming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Prince Charming. So, and that's how, what's his name? The character's name here.
Oh, Balian.
So Balian is described as this handsome, blonde Brad Pitt type who's very confident, beautiful. And so he and Martise had a relationship when they were very young. And was it at that time that she overheard him?
I don't know that she overheard him, but it was one of those like relationships where it was one-sided. Like he was kind of like backhanded compliments, and he was like, oh my God, I like love you so much. And then they had sex a couple times, and he's like, anyways, I have stuff I gotta do. Bye.
Yeah. So it's been like 10 years since that happened. And then they run into each other in this marketplace. And she's like, oh, this is fun.
Oh, no.
And he is very much like, hello, Martise. Like, we should renew our past relationship. Here's my hotel room key card. Like, that's basically what he does to her.
Except he gives her like a backhanded compliment too. He's like, something like, oh, I see that you look the same as you did before. Like something that's like, okay, fuckhead.
It's
like,
pretty shitty.
We're gonna fight.
Yeah. And so Martise kind of just shrugs it off. And I feel like she's heard that a lot throughout her life.
Yeah.
And Balian goes off as well. And so that's kind of the end. They have this very minor interaction in the market. She's like, no, I'm not interested, buddy. Sorry. Like, also, I am very attracted to this all-powerful mage who will destroy you.
Yeah. But she also like inadvertently like savaged him she's like, oh, I see that you like also haven't done anything. And he's like, oh,
I forgot about that part. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like one of those like, you go, girl. Like, fuck him up.
Yeah. Because I think he implied that she hadn't made anything. Like, she's like, you're still a slave, right? And she's like, well, you're still a stable boy, right?
Yeah. He's like, that's not fair.
Yeah. They part ways in the marketplace. And so her and Gurn finish up their business. And so all three of them agreed to kind of reunite at the, I guess, picnic area is the best way to describe this.
That's exactly what I thought. Like a bunch of picnic tables.
Yeah. And everyone's just hanging out, drinking beer, eating lunch, having tacos. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So she's making her way to this group marketplace picnic area, and then she stops because she sees that Silhara is sitting at a picnic table, and he's kind of sitting sideways on a bench. So straddling it halfway, and he's peeling an apple. And if that is not the hottest thing.
I was like, I'm gonna sound so weird here because like for whatever reason that was like super hot.
It's the picture of him. It's the picture of like anyone. And I think part of it is probably you're supposed to sit a certain way, and he's deliberately not.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm going to rebel and straddle this bench. And then he's peeling an apple with a knife.
Straddle this bench.
My brain.
It's fine. It's fine. Everybody thinks this is hot. It's fine.
If you don't think it's hot, please tell us because we're weird, apparently. So she's observing him, and then she immediately notices that sitting at the same table, it's like a communal table.
Yeah.
They do that here, like in real life. Like,
no.
Fuck no.
I do not
I
want.
I would see that and be like, I'll take takeout, please, and eat it in my car.
Yep. I do that exclusively.
Yeah. So Balian and his like groupies are
Yeah.
sitting at the same table as Silhara. And so they're sitting on one end. Silhara's like minding his own business, peeling his apple sexily.
Yes. Sexily peeling apples.
And Balian is kind of relaying his previous interaction. Oh, I ran into my old flame Artiste and she was like super hot in bed, but like real fun in the face.
Oh.
And she gets close enough to overhear like this conversation.
Because he also like says basically like it doesn't matter if you turn the lights off, you can't tell. And it's like, bro, I would destroy you.
Yeah. Well, and his buddy, I think, is the one that says like, just fuck her in the dark, man.
Oh.
Can you imagine overhearing that?
There are moments when I realize like what feminine rage is, and this is one of those moments that I would turn into some like demonic summoned like
Katie is putting her arms out like, I will summon hellfire for you.
I will destroy you.
But what's notable about this like thing that she overhears, right, is the fact that Balian is relaying about how hot Bartice is because of her voice.
Yeah. Because
like,
he doesn't use her name.
Yeah. He's just like, oh my God. This is the line where like she had a voice that would make a man come.
Yeah.
That gross.
Everything is fine.
And so there's Silhara casually like not making eye contact, peeling his apple on the end of the bench, listening to this conversation. And there's Martise standing at a distance, also overhearing this conversation.
Face pale, sweaty, like, oh no.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
So she avoids the table. She's like, I'll get with Silhara later. Like,
this is not a good time.
This isn't going to work. And then, so I think his buddy says that final line about like just in the dark.
Yeah.
And Silhara, like in a viper flash, takes he cleans the knife first, because I think that's the other hot part. Is that it's very methodical.
He like stops peeling the apple, puts the apple down, cleans the knife on his leg, and then bam! In the hand, straight through to the table, pins that motherfucker's. Everything's fine.
So obviously, Katie and I found this scene very hot. And if that doesn't speak to unhealthy expectations.
Yeah. This is our problematic moment.
Yeah. And we acknowledge that. We understand. So here's the preface, is that if a dude is willing to resort to violence so quickly in your name, not a dude you should be with.
Yeah.
That's a dude who hasn't learned healthy coping mechanisms with the world.
Yeah.
But in fantasy romance, we will 100% take
Eat
that
it up.
So he destroys Balian. So stabs him in the hand through the wood. Proceeds to like rip him apart verbally. And then Balian has like an ego moment, like
okay, so I don't know if you like noticed this, but so there's this like TikTok thing about like school fights, and it's always the guy takes off his shirt, and as he's taking off his shirt, he just gets like the shit beat out of him because it's like, I guess, a thing to take your shirt off during fights, but like for weirdos. But Balian does this.
Oh, does he really?
It's described that he takes his shirt off and then he's going to fight Silhara.
And Silhara's like, bitch, please.
What?
So, like, they get into like a fist fight in the public square.
And there's like a crowd around them.
And Martise is watching. She's like, what is going on?
Oh my god.
But Silhara beats the shit out of him.
Yeah,
and like
fucked up.
Very casually, like with very minimal effort on his part. And basically makes it clear, like, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
You're being a dick.
Yeah.
But it's without any, like, this is my woman nonsense. Yeah. It's just Silhara, like, I felt like beating you to a pulp today. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. And the best part is, so at the end of this fight, Balian does something, Silhara does something, and then Balian's pinned on the ground, Silhara's on his back. And he, like, rips up his head, so his head is, like, facing up to the crowd, and he has his knife in his hand, and he's like, oh, I think, like, we should do something so that, like, the ugliest on the inside is, like, reflected on the outside. And I have it quoted. So basically he's like carves a giant like line in Balian's face, and he says, "Don't fret, boy. No one will notice if you fuck in the dark." Bro, my soul left my body.
Silhara for the win.
Oh my god.
Touchdown. I've been playing a little too much fantasy football lately.
That's fair. Oh my god, bro.
Katie is crying right now.
This scene did more for me than any of the other ones before it.
This scene is okay. So there are spicy scenes in the future of this book. This is one of the most memorable scenes I've read in fantasy romance.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to like the buildup of the intimacy between these two characters. Not like, so this scene is impactful, but if we didn't have that romantic, intimate buildup and the relationship between these two established, this wouldn't mean as much. So this is like the culminating, like Silhara standing up for Martise.
Yeah. Because throughout the book to this point, he's been kind of like, not against his will, but he's been like, oh, like, she's plain, I don't like her, but like also that voice, and like, oh, she's plain, but like she's got a nice body, but like, oh, she's plain, but she's like kind of snarky and really smart, like whatever. And then you get this scene that you actually get the insight of like, he will fight someone for her. Like, it's the respect behind it. He's like, ain't nobody gonna talk about her this way. I will destroy you. And it's just this like, oh, everything is fine. Oh.
It's
okay.
Yeah, we're okay.
I'm coherent, maybe a little bit
this
now.
This is the entirety of part 2 for us for this book.
God, yeah. Jesus. Everything is fine.
If you just make it to the scene, I remember, so when I was doing the reread for this session, just powering through these pages to get to the scene because I knew it was coming. I'm like, oh, it hits home.
It does. Because I feel like everyone's wanted that moment of like someone that you know is kind of a bully that like really makes you vulnerable and kind of exploits that vulnerability and is just a dick, and you're like, but really hurts you deep in your soul. And I feel like you've always wanted that moment of like, that happens in the movie, that like the bad guy gets what's coming to him. So it was kind of like a living manifestation of that, of like, he got what's coming to him. Like, you're gonna be a dick and abuse people and use them. You're going to get a scar carved into your cheek, so you're no longer beautiful. Like,
it's also, I think, impactful that this doesn't really happen in real life. Not ever. How many times have you been stood up for? Like, someone has wronged you in front of your face and you have felt hurt, and someone has seen that, witnessed that, and done something about it for you.
Yeah. 0 times.
Yeah. So that's why I think these kinds of scenes have such impact to readers, is because this doesn't happen in real life, and probably shouldn't happen in real life.
For legal purposes.
Yeah. Well, but also like most people have a like public standards of decency. Like, you're not going to talk about that. Like, most people are smart enough not to do that kind of shit in public. So it is definitely a fantasy, but my God, what a fantasy.
Yeah. So enjoyable. Yeah. And it's kind of cute too because it's immediately followed by a more like sentimental, emotional moment. They're staying in an inn for the night. It's not the one bed trope, sadly. But
all three of them are in the same room, like Gurn included.
Yeah, it's like a public room, like everyone's sleeping in there, but they're both awake. And kind of Silhara kind of has this like emotional vulnerability moment where he tells Martise about this like kind of really fucked up thing with his mom. And it kind of explains his actions too of why he chose such a violent path like right off the beat. But basically, his mom kind of sent him out on an errand while she took a customer, and he's like, it's kind of weird. So it happened again and again and again. And he's like, okay, this time I'm going to see like what's going on. Like, this is weird.
I forgot about this scene. This is rough.
This is really fucked up. So basically he watched through, like a crack in the wall or something of his mom working for this customer. And basically the customer kind of treated his mom like literal garbage. Like this man is absolutely like a sociopath. Basically, he had her like walk around on the floor on arms and legs, and he like pissed on her and then like, finished on the floor and had her lick it up. And basically Silhara ends that with like, I feel bad about some of the decisions I've made, but like killing him was not something that I feel bad about. And as you're reading it, you're like, yeah, he should have been like murdered in a really gruesome, horrible way, because what the fuck? But it also kind of like explains his actions during the market, because like if he has seen such a personal, like horrific act happen to someone like close to him, it would explain the fact that he would like have a really visceral response to something that's like very like dehumanizing and like horrible, horrific, like sociopathic. Like it would explain like a trigger almost. And it's interesting because like I feel like some books have these trigger moments where like the male love interest does something like crazy off the bat. They're like, oh, that's kind of hot. But they never really explain it as like specifically. But this kind of showed that he had an action and then he explained the trigger, and it's like, okay, like, yeah, you still like committed a felony, but like also I kind of understand.
Well, reason being that his actions weren't entirely motivated by romantic feeling.
Yeah.
Like, I think that has some value to it, right? Because if it's just this is my woman, I'm protecting her. No, this is, my mother was traumatized.
Yeah.
Because she couldn't help herself. She was, trying to provide for her family through this work and was brutalized.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Silhara's reaction to Balian is, given his traumatic past.
Yeah. It's like explainable, at least.
And doesn't seem as much of an overreaction given, I mean, it's an overreaction, but right. But basing it just in romantic interest seems shallow.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But then you get this like deeper side and you're like, oh my God. Yeah. But basically, that whole trip is culminated.
It gets real. There's always like this scene, like this next scene where it's the hero or heroine has this internal crisis about like, I can't be attracted to this other person.
So do you want to talk about this part, or should I try?
I will try. So they get back from the marketplace. Everything seems to go back to normal. And like Martise is still processing, it seems like. She's like, we're in an unusual relationship dynamic between Silhara and I. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, we had this great makeout session. He protected me in the market. He has been vulnerable with me about his mom.
Yeah.
Like, what are we? And
what are we?
So that's Martise. And Silhara is panicking. He's like, I don't want to be involved with anyone. Clearly, I just need to get laid. Like, that's his reaction. Like, why am I protecting this plain woman? Like, why am I interested? So he tells Gurn, he says, Gurn, I need you to go to the market and I need you to go to the temple of hotness, basically.
The temple of hotness.
Yeah. Is that a shot?
That might be. I'll just go ahead.
Just take that. So go to the temple and bring me back the finest looking, or no, he says, bring me back a prostitute who looks like Martise.
Yeah, he's like the same height, delicate build. Features, a little bit, a nice voice. And Gurn is like, bro, are you
fucking kidding me? He's like signing it like, fuck you, bro.
And he's mad too, which like, Gurn is absolutely like a good best friend. He's like, bro,
this is not a good move. And Silhara knows it's not a good move, but he's like, just fucking do it. I need to breathe. So God bless Gurn.
I love this.
Describe this next part.
So Gurn comes back, everything's normal. And it's kind of sad because Silhara is like having an existential crisis basically because he's like, oh, hey, Martise, we're having a guest. Can you like prepare a room? And she's like, okay, sure. And he's like, oh, you weren't supposed to say sure. You're supposed to be like kind of upset about it. And then he asks her to do something out. Oh, she made like a really beautiful lunch. And she's like, oh, I know like you're not feeling well. Like here's this great like flavorful soup. And he's like, fuck, I'm a horrible human being. And then Gurn walks in and the lady behind him, her name is Anya.
Beautiful.
The single most beautiful person in the entire world.
I couldn't not. Okay, so I pictured based on what she was described as, like Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, like a Kim Kardashian, or what was the love interest in that one James Bond movie? She was also in the first Glass Onion.
But see, I don't picture her as like classically beautiful.
I could see that. Yeah.
I pictured just Princess Jasmine, like 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that's how she's described. And it's kind of funny because instead of being like, oh my God, I have this like super hot prostitute in my house now that I'm going to go sleep with, he's immediately like, why is she so hot? I cannot imagine how much money this is costing me.
I love that was his first reaction. This is an expensive night. Like, Gurn, what the fuck did you do?
Yeah.
And like the whole time he's like, you're gonna starve for the rest of the season. This is your fault, bud. But it kind of speaks to like some of Silhara's practicality a little bit. Like he's not.
Because I think he even says, he's like, I was just looking for someone that didn't have the pox, and you brought me like the head of the brothel.
Yeah. And Gurn is very satisfied with himself. He's like,
like, well, isn't that not fun, huh?
Yeah. So, and this, do you have her name?
Anya.
So Anya is actually very sweet.
Yeah, I liked her character because I think it also does justice to sex workers who are people too. This is just their profession. They're people. They do this as a job. Like they get paid for it, but that's just their job. Like anybody else has a job. I think it did justice to that fact instead of just saying like, oh my God, she's a prostitute. She like loves sex and is a horrible person, et cetera, et cetera. Like, no, this is just her job. She's a person outside of this that has feelings and emotions and can love people and etc. Anyways,
so Anya,
Anya
joins them for dinner and she's very kind and gracious. And Martise is having this internal like self-doubt. Am I not good enough? Like what is going on? She's like, obviously I'm not good enough. Like I don't look like her. And she's just picturing Silhara and Anya together in the room that she prepared for them.
God.
And
I feel like getting like real here. I feel like everyone's kind of had that moment where you're like kind of attracted to someone and then you see their spouse and you're like, everything is fine. But you just like that I think it's like disappointment, but that kind of like dropping feeling in your stomach of like, oh, okay, like this is fine. Or even when like someone you're interested in, it has like the person they're interested in, you're like, oh, okay.
Well, I think it's going from like a slight amount of hope to reality setting in.
Yeah.
Like, because this is hope dying for Martise.
Yeah.
But I think everyone, like you said, everyone has felt that way. Like, oh, you like, for example, you only confess your love if you think there's hope that they're going to return it.
Yeah.
If you like people who don't confess, no, that it's like they're not going to get the response that they want, right? So I think imagine Martise was probably like, oh, we had this romantic moment, and also the marketplace, and also fuck.
Yeah, because it's double sad when you think about her experience with Balian, who like she thought that he actually loved her, and then he's like, no, I was just teasing you because you got like a hot voice and a nice bod. And she's like, okay, men are horrible. And then she's like, oh, this guy is like kind of okay and he's kind of hot, and like, oh my God, we kind of made out. And then he's like, I'm going to sleep with this prostitute who is the single most beautiful woman on the planet. And you're like, okay, everything is fine.
Yeah. So Silhara takes Anya back to her guest room.
Yeah.
And he does something really fucked up. Oh my God. So like they're starting to get it on a little bit, and like Silhara can't quite get it up. Sorry, but it's true.
Yep.
So he's like, "Hey Anya, don't freak out, but look at this mirror. I'm gonna do something." And he does like this magic illusion spell and makes her look like Martise. And like Anya's like, "Oh, bud, you got bigger problems than I do."
It's funny because that's exactly her response. She's like, "Oh,
yeah,
I see what's going on here."
And he keeps trying, keeps failing, and so in short, nothing happens really between Anya and Silhara, and he's like, "Fuck this! How about you go make my servant happy since he brought you all the way here?" So he tells Anya to go to Gurn.
Yep.
And apparently Gurn's quite talented.
Okay, so that development in this story was so satisfying and like, okay, I didn't know I needed that, but that's adorable. Because I think he like knocks on his door and he like wakes up with like a crudgel.
Oh, he's naked.
He's fucking bare ass naked. And Anya is like, oh.
Because Gurn is 78 feet tall with the accompanying parts.
Yep. Yeah. And that's a cute development because, it kind of fades to black a little bit. And the next morning, it's super sad, but Martise's face is puffy because she's been crying the whole night and like, oh, my girl. And she comes down to dinner and she sees Anya and Gurn are like kind of like handsy. And she's like,
what?
That's kind of gross, but like, okay.
Did you guys have a threesome?
Like, what is happening? And Anya is such a girl's girl. I love this. She's immediately like, oh, so like, how long have you been here? Like, oh, Silhara, he's like kind of hot, right? Like, you kind of like got something going on with him, right? And obviously Martise is like, what the fuck is happening right now? But also Anya is like, yeah, he, he like really likes you. And like, Gurn, amazing in bed. You know how it is.
And Gurn is like kind of blushing, but very satisfied with himself, obviously.
He's like, I did that.
Yeah.
And it's adorable.
I just love that they're over and over again, like, because Gurn communicates with his hands and he's like, he's very talented with his hands.
That's like an ongoing like trope
it
the
is
whole time.
The rest of the book is just Gurn's hands.
Yep. Gurn's good with the hands. And it's kind of funny too because they're all sitting down to breakfast and it's kind of like overcast out, but the clouds are starting to go away. It's going to be like a warm afternoon. And Silhara like sprints down the stairs like, no!
Katie is sprinting in place right now. Her hands are going.
He's like sprinting. And he runs outside and he's like, no, my grove needs water. And so he goes like full like sorcerer magician and like calls down a storm.
I just pictured, have you seen, this is bad. Have you seen Fantasia?
Yeah.
The original Fantasia, not Fantasia 2000.
Oh, no, I've only seen Fantasia 2000. And only in like a fever dream.
Yeah, well, that's how you watch Fantasia. Okay. But the original Fantasia has The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which is like a actual classical score. But it's Mickey in his like apprentice things, like calling down, like there's a rainstorm. And so I just pictured Silhara looking like a Mickey Mouse.
The Mickey Mouse here is like, you will fucking come down.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So he calls a storm down and Anya is like inside, like, what the fuck is happening? Like, nobody should be able to like do storm magic. Like, what have I walked into? Martise like runs outside. She's like, you're a fucking idiot. But it rains. Everything's fine. Silhara is like tired, but he comes back inside and he's like, okay, Gurn, there's not much we can do outside because it's raining. Enjoy Anya, but like, let's be clear, I'm not paying for today's extra day because otherwise you'll have to like, go on our little caravan thing in the rain and be miserable, or you could stay here and pretend that this is just a friendly visit. And Anya's like, my man's Gurn has got good hands. This will be fine. I'm just staying friends. This is just a little social visit.
Free of charge.
Yeah. And then we get kind of this, like, again, awkwardly intimate moment where Silhara kind of like tells Matrice how
drink.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll take half of this if you want to continue the rest of the scene.
I don't even know where we are anymore.
He tells her to like dry her hair by the fire.
Oh,
yeah.
this scene is so cute. So, I still don't know what happens.
So she like gets dry clothes on, comes and sit by the fire, is brushing out her hair, and Sahara's kind of like staring at her, and it's like one of those like loaded moments, like I'm gonna go find someone else, like somewhere else to be. This is kind of like obviously something intimate going on. She brushes out her hair.
Doesn't she brush out his hair?
Yeah, it's that trope.
Whoa.
Because also, like, let's be real though, Legolas's hair, like, I would want to brush that too.
I forgot your Legolas thing.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, that's satisfying.
Well, if you've ever had your hair brushed by another person,
yeah.
It's
yeah. See, again, okay. Did you hear your voice during
it is
it's deserved, but
it's so nice.
Yep. So we get that intimate moment, et cetera, and then like sex scene ensues.
Okay. So there's like an intimacy building between like the hair brushing and Sahara being like, brush my hair, please.
Yeah.
And then they kind of like fall into each other.
Yeah.
And then proceed into a very raunchy sex scene.
Raunchy.
It's
yeah.
So we were trying to remember the word that was used repetitively.
But yes, repeatedly.
Oh my God. So this is kind of a warning for you readers. Hopefully we gave you enough warning in the beginning so you don't overly commit to this book.
Yeah.
Explicit is putting it mildly.
Yeah, this is I think more smutty than the Court of Silver Flames or whatever.
It's the amount of detail given, and I think it's probably this perspective switching.
Oh,
because you get it from his perspective, and you also get it from her perspective.
360 view.
Not something to read in front of other people.
No, no.
Please don't.
Unless you're like freaky like that, but
So if I have any issues with this book, because I did enjoy this book, it was a very quick read. I skimmed this section, and this is a big section.
Yeah.
She dedicates a lot of time to these scenes, and I felt like it was a little too vulgar. And maybe that's just me, Victoria Lady. And this is not a commentary. If you like these kinds of scenes, if you like spicier books, I am not judging. This is just not my cup of tea to read and enjoy. It just, because we get 60 to 70% of the book that's not this, it felt kind of jarring.
I could see that, because it was kind of jarring that they go from like kind of like flirting around with each other but not acknowledging anything to all of a sudden they're the most memorable.
Please proceed, Katie.
He fucks her on the carpet and she gets a rug burn on her back because it's so enthusiastic. And again, because Grace Draven is the queen of one-liners, he says later, I don't need you on your back for anything, Matrice, unless you want to go stargazing with me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's a little bit like out of left field almost that they just all of a sudden are going into this very explicit sex scene, but like, okay.
I felt like it was somewhat out of place.
Yeah, I could see
with
that.
This book. But
I think it also might stem from the fact that this happens at the like 45, 55, 60% mark, and we're probably used to scenes like this happening at the like 85, 90%.
I thought it was later on in the book.
It's not. It's like halfway through, because there's still the whole culmination of everything else that happens. So this is it, like, I want to say it's like 45% mark. If not 40%. Yeah.
I don't like that.
That's fair. But also, so let me just say, as a woman who like decently enjoys like smutty stuff, this is the most bang for your buck. Like, you know what I mean? Jordan is dying, wheezing. She's also taking her shot very gracefully. But like, you know what I mean? Like, you get the most tension and build up and then culmination without having to spend 500 pages.
I will never hear more bang for your buck.
Yeah, that's both literally and metaphorically. But yeah.
I feel a little traumatized.
That's fair. Yeah. We're going to have one of those like advertisements like if you have been emotionally traumatized by the podcast, not another heroine. Yeah.
All right.
But that's where I think we're going to end this episode.
Yep.
So everyone can I was about to say something super bad, but fan yourself. And we will come back for a culmination of the actual plot, not the smut.
But both, actually.
That's fair, because I think there's more smutty
There
things.
is more good plot, though.
Yeah.
Like, there's actual action.
Both terms.
Yep, there's things that happen. Anyway, from our shelf to yours.
We'll see you on the next page. Hi, readers. If you'd like to help us pick our next book, send us a message on Instagram.
Or if you'd like to just listen, we post new episodes every Monday and Wednesday on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Thanks for listening.
Bussin'.